So normally on this channel, I make these top 100 videos that are clearly joking, but this time around, because Apex Legends is a game that I'm very passionate about, I'm going to make an actual Apex Legends tier list. This tier list will be ordered, and this tier list is not just about which characters are the most fun to play, but which characters I think are genuinely the best characters to pick if you want to win consistently. Now, obviously, you can win with every single character in this game, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset because their main is not on the top, but the reality is, in ranked and in pro level play, there are characters that are just genuinely the better pick. However, I'm going to do this tier list a little bit differently. On top of ordering every single legend from F tier all the way to S tier, I'm also going to give some suggestions I have to potentially buff or nerf characters where I think they need to be. So with that out of the way, let's start this tier list, shall we? F tier. There actually is no F tier. I don't believe any of the legends are completely unusable garbage. So we're just going to skip right over to D tier. These legends are not unplayable, but picking them over other legends is kind of a throw pick. So at the bottom of D tier, we have, of course, Mirage. Mirage has been consistently the worst legend in Apex Legends. Now, he's a fan favorite, don't get me wrong, but his abilities don't do much for the team, and they barely do much for the Mirage player. In the beginning stages of Apex, Mirage's clones could trick people, but now it rarely tricks anybody. On top of that, his ultimate to go invisible on paper seems really useful, but because a bunch of clones just spawn around him, it actually doesn't do that much because everyone knows that somebody's invisible nearby, and it doesn't even last that long, so they can just chase you down and kill you anyway. So he definitely needs a buff or a rework. And one idea people have is to give him multiple clones kind of on cooldown similar to Bangalore's cooldowns. Maybe give him 2 or even 3 clones. We'll see. They can always test it. Another idea they have is that maybe when he revives people, a clone pops up around him. And a third idea a lot of people have is to change his ultimate completely to be the one that they had on Dummy's Big Day, where you spawn a bunch of clones near you that mirror whatever you do. And that is actually super disorienting for the enemy players. And I think that would be a much better ultimate and much more suitable ultimate for Mirage. But even then, I don't think that would push him up that much in the tier list, but at least it would make him a lot more useful to the team. But yeah, that's why Mirage is at the bottom of our tier list. And finishing our D tier, we have the newest legend, Revenant. Revenant's introduction to this game was very hyped. I feel like everybody that plays this game was extremely excited to play Revenant, but everyone was also simultaneously disappointed by the fact that this guy does not do much. His tactical is about the best thing in his kit. The damage it does is quite negligible, but the ability to hack enemies' abilities seems really cool on paper. However, every other legend after this has a much better tactical ability. On top of this, Revenant has one of the most meh ultimates ever. His death totem seemed like it would be like this awesome invulnerability type thing, but in reality, it actually is worse than just going in guns a-blazing. The fact that you come back with only 1 HP means that you have to medkit up, and in the middle of a fight, if you're about to kill somebody, it really sucks because you just want to finish the fight and not go back to the death totem. And his passive ability to climb higher is barely useful. He's just completely outclassed by every single character with vertical mobility and every character with different types of offensive abilities. So I think he definitely deserves a buff. And I mentioned in my video, but they could literally buff every single part of his kit just a little bit. Maybe when he uses the death totem, he goes a little bit faster and climbs faster. Maybe his passive is that he climbs faster in general. That'd be really cool. Maybe his tactical does a little more damage, maybe 20 damage. It could actually mean a difference in a big fight. A cool suggestion that I heard was allowing for you to go back to the totem whenever you feel like it, like you press a button and go back, which would be cool for scouting and stuff. So that might be one cool way to buff Revenant. But until then, he is at the top of D tier. C tier. These legends are okay, but don't do enough to warrant being picked over other legends. At the bottom of C tier, we have Octane. Look, I love Octane. I just bought his heirloom and everything. You can watch the unboxing on my second channel. But Octane in reality is just a character that is supposed to be fast, but doesn't really do that. His tactical ability is cool, but it's very loud. It's very easy to track when you're chasing an Octane, and it also takes a little bit of your health away. His ultimate, the launch pad, is just a way worse zipline. A zipline could get you across a big crack like this. Octane's jump pad? Not so much. The one redeeming quality Octane has is the fact that he passively heals, and the fact that although it's a big cost to take a little bit of your health, he is quite fast and can definitely push for big kills and stuff. But the reality is Octane is just outclassed by other legends later in this tier list. So a cool way to buff Octane, in my opinion, would be allowing for you to control the movement in your jump pad. I didn't come up with that idea. There's actually a really cool in-depth video by my friend Mokey. You can check it out. I'll link it down below. Mokey goes into detail about how it would be an interesting buff to allow for for you to control where you go with the jump pad more, where you can even jump twice in the air. Another idea I have is just decrease the amount of damage you take when you use your ability, or they can make it so that he self-heals a little bit quicker. That one may be a little bit overpowered, but I wish Apex would just try these things out. Just test it. Also, he should be the fastest character in this game. Maybe buff his speed a little bit too. But yeah, for now, he is at the bottom of C tier. Next up, we have Bangalore. She used to be one of the most popular characters and definitely one of the best characters in the game. However, once other characters that were just a lot stronger than her came into the picture, she just kind of got pushed by the wayside. Now, I don't think Bangalore is bad at all. I think she's one of the better characters. However, her kit can be detrimental to your own team. The smoke is so disorienting, and I think that is probably why a lot of people don't like using her, even though her kit is pretty strong. Her passive ability is incredible. The fact that you can just run really fast when getting shot at, that will always be good. Maybe they can bring back that speed boost again, because they nerfed it earlier back in King's Canyon days. Another suggestion is maybe her ultimate explodes quicker and does more damage so that it actually feels like a dangerous ultimate. Whenever a Bangalore ults, I'm not too afraid to go into it or take damage from it as much as I am afraid of other people's ultimates. But I don't really know exactly how to rework Bangalore. Maybe other characters just need a slight nerf first, but we'll see. Or maybe when we get a new map, Bangalore will get back into the meta. It just really depends. But that's why she's solidly in C tier. And at the top of C tier, we have Caustic. Caustic's kit is quite strong. It's very similar to Bangalore's actually. The smoke is disorienting to your own team. However, the smoke is a lot more dangerous to enemies. Enemies are definitely afraid to go through a big green cloud of smoke. However, there's something missing in his kit that I can't really pinpoint as to why he's not that good. The simplest suggestion I have is to make it so that his smoke is not detrimental to his team. This may seem overpowered, but it would make it so you can actually do what he's supposed to do, which is camp an area out without screwing over your own team. Because right now, your team doesn't take damage by the smoke, but gets slowed down by it. And that's really lame. And the worst part is if there's another Caustic, the team won't know if it's your gas or their gas. I suggested this in my previous Caustic video, but I think it'd be really cool if your teammates saw a different color smoke so at least they know it's your smoke and not theirs. Like maybe they saw a blue smoke or something. Just my 2 cents. But in general, his ability to hold rooms and just scare off enemies away makes him a solid pick, but not the best, which is why he's at the top of C tier. Now we're at B tier. These legends are genuinely good in situations, but are just outclassed, or they need a slight buff to be great. First up, we got Crypto. Crypto has received an amazing buff. His drone has 30 health, which is actually a lot, especially from a distance. Before only had 1 health and would just die. And the armor swap thing that people used to do where they just drop their armor, it doesn't work anymore. So that's kind of a slight buff to him. Crypto's ability to counter some of the better characters on this list is why I think he has the potential to be really good in the right hands. However, the reason why he's not a top tier character is because whenever you're using his ability, your team is essentially in a 2v3 situation if they're fighting another team. So a small idea I have for Crypto is to maybe have a feature where you can throw the drone mid-fight, maybe like a tactical ability where you can kind of just pick an area to throw the drone and then you can EMP that way. That might seem pretty overpowered, but I don't know, that could be a lot of fun as well. It's something that Apex should test. If it's too overpowered, take it away. But if it's good for the health of the game, maybe try something like that. But that's why Crypto sits comfortably at the bottom of B tier. Up next, we have Lifeline. Lifeline is my favorite character in this game. It's hard for me to say that she's not the best. I can acknowledge that some of her individual kit stuff is amazing. The fact that she has fast heals from the get-go is really nice. Her reviving is incredible and even better with the introduction of the golden backpack. And with the nerf to the amount of things you can carry healing wise in your backpack, having a Lifeline around is actually a pretty big positive. However, the only thing stopping her from being great is the fact that there's a character later on this tier list that does everything Lifeline does a bit better and has a much better ultimate, because Lifeline's ultimate unfortunately is just not that great. Yes, getting purple armor is dope, but the problem is you just rolling the dice hoping you don't get a purple knockdown shield. On top of that, when you put this ultimate out, it tells the entire world, hey, guess what? My team's right here. A couple suggestions I have to buff Lifeline is to maybe allow for her to pick what comes in the care package, and obviously that means people are going to want to get purple shields all the time. That's fine. That should be what her ability does. I don't like that it's luck based, but in general she's really not that bad. She's just 100% outclassed by a character that we'll talk about later. Up next, we have Bloodhound. Bloodhound recently has been hit with a good amount of buffs. Their ultimate now lasts longer every time you knock somebody, but more importantly, their scan range is tripled. So right now, if you're using Bloodhound, you can basically scan across the map and it's incredible. Now, the only reason why Bloodhound is not a top tier character is that unfortunately, the current game state is a little bit more campy, so Bloodhound, even though they can scan an entire room, if the room is full of traps and a Wattson ultimate, there's really nothing that they can do to get in. A cool suggestion that I have for a buff is to give Bloodhound an additional ability where maybe they have a throwing knife, and this throwing knife, if you hit a target like a person, it will keep them scanned for like, let's say 30 seconds and also do 10 damage. Or if you threw this thing at Wattson's ultimate, it shuts it down for about 30 seconds. This could be a really good anti-camping ability, which could be potentially game-changing and pushing Bloodhound to the top. But until then, Bloodhound sits comfortably at the top of B tier. A tier is where the great legends begin. These legends have very little drawback and are basically must picks. Starting with Pathfinder. Ever since season 2, I want to say, where Pathfinder got the hitbox reduction, Pathfinder has been good since then. You would think that Pathfinder's mobility would be the main reason why he's up here, which you're right. On top of that though, Pathfinder's passive ability to scan with a survey beacon is broken, especially when you're playing in high tier competition. If you want to climb, placements matter so much, so knowing where the ring is going to end is incredibly valuable. And on top of that, Pathfinder still is the most mobile character in this game. His tactical ability allows for him to get in and out of situations with ease, and his ultimate is extremely valuable for you and your team to get into really key positions and areas that you otherwise could not reach. I do think that they can nerf his grapple a little bit, maybe just increase the cooldown by 2 seconds so that he's not crazy fast, but otherwise he's in a pretty solid place where I think he's a fun and very useful character. That's why he sits comfortably in A tier. And at the top of A tier is none other than our boy Gibraltar. Gibby has gotten buffs on buffs on buffs. The first buff he got is that you and your team can heal a bit faster inside his dome shield. The second buff that he got though, I think is what really put him over the top. Inside his dome shield, he can revive just as fast as Lifeline, if not faster. I'm not really sure on the numbers, but it's pretty fast. What this means is you essentially have Lifeline's ability to revive quicker, but you're protected on all sides. And on top of that though, Gibby has one of the strongest ultimates, especially if the zone ends in the wide open. He has arguably the strongest passive ability with the arm shield, which is essentially a 50 shield on cooldown. I think Gibby needs a slight nerf. And what I would suggest is that they maybe revert the fast reviving, because it really does take away the one thing Lifeline has going for her. And Gibby didn't even need it to be that good. He was already climbing up in usage before that buff even existed. Yeah, that's why Gibraltar is on the top of the A tier. But now we've gotten to the top legends. These are the S tier legends, the must picks, starting with Wraith. Wraith has always been one of the best characters in this game since day one. Her extremely tiny hitbox on top of a get out of jail free card button is already enough to make her a great character, but her ultimate ability to make a teleporter from one area to another is insane. This means you can make very safe rotations with your team to get from point A to point B. Why does this matter? Well, when the ring is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, owning the inside of a room is crucial. Wraith can basically let your team chill back while she gets into a room and helps you guys set up in there. I don't want to be that guy, but she does need a little bit of a nerf to her ultimate, because that's honestly what's putting her to a must pick level. A small suggestion is to maybe decrease the distance you can take your teleporter, maybe just a slight distance reduction, because right now she's just zipping zooming everywhere. But until they do something about it, she is definitely sitting comfortably at the bottom of S tier. And now our number one legend at the top of S tier, meaning that she is always a must pick, we have Wattson. Now Wattson has always been useful because she essentially has free shield healing with her ultimate. Her ultimate also stops grenade spam, which is a big problem in this game. And on top of that, she has the ability to fence off an entire building and protect you guys for as long as you need to be protected. Now with the nerf to the amount of heals you can carry, she's even more of a must pick. We don't want characters to be must picks, so what do we do about Wattson? Well, obviously maybe you can reduce the amount of fences that she can put down. Right now she can put down 12. Maybe you can reduce that down to 8 or reduce it down to 6. Maybe make her ultimate die really quickly. Right now it has a lot of health. Perhaps cut that health in half so that you can just shoot it down pretty easily. Her ultimate has changed the way that people play Apex Legends on a fundamental level, to a point where yes, it's less annoying with grenade spam, but it's also a lot more campy. But until they do anything about her, she is definitely a must pick, and she sits at the top of our tier list. So there you have it. That is my Apex Legends tier list. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with it? If you disagree, let me know in the comments down below what your tier list would be. Also, if you don't mind, when you're making this tier list in the comments, let me know what rank you are. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.